Hello, and welcome to another episode of That Money Lady with me, Audrey Heesch, your friendly money lady. Today, I want to talk about cash flow management, which I've said it a million times in a million ways. It sounds like such a simple concept, just knowing the money coming in and the money going out. But your cash flow management is one of the largest pieces of managing your finances, and it takes a lot of work and effort to get all these pieces not only put together in a way that supports you, but also in just doing the upkeep and the maintenance. And that's going to look different for every single entrepreneur, and it's going to look different in a million different ways. And so I'm not about cookie cutter solutions. So I'm not going to say this is the one way you need to do it. Not about that. I'm about supporting you and figuring out a system that works with you. And so that is what I bring to the table, is not telling you it has to be, let's say, profit first, or I don't know why I can't think of another option, but I'm not saying it has to be these things. If that's something that you're like, yes, that sounds exactly like what I need and how I manage it. And I know entrepreneurs, I've talked to entrepreneurs that are like, it's a game changer for me. I know instantly what's going on and it works with me in a way that does work with me. And I love that. Keep that. If that's what it is, please do that. It's just finding that system that does work with you and not just doing the shoulds. While managing your finances is one of those shoulds, unfortunately, it's just one of those we have to do that as entrepreneurs in order to make sure we're in compliance with the law and making sure that we're getting the deductions that are rightfully owed to us in a way that is in alignment with the law. That's very important. And so it's just taking those steps and setting your systems up for success in a way that supports you. Um, what do you do when you get an invoice? Do you pay it right away, or do you hold it and then you pay it at a later date? Are you a cash basis or accrual basis? That depends on how you enter and how you manage your finances and what that looks like for you. Are you Do you invoice people and then they pay you at a later date? What are your net terms? How often are you following up on your collections? There are so many different steps and layers, and everyone's going to be different. I'll be very honest and say that collections is not one of my strong suits. Like, it's just, invoicing is just not. It's one of those pieces where I don't particularly enjoy. And my clients are always like, I've honestly gotten charge me more. Make sure you charge me for this. And uh what other system? If I don't invoice, if I miss a month, I have people, my clients reach out to me and be like, hey, I want to make sure you're taken care of. And there's so much beauty in that. When you start finding the heart-centered entrepreneurs that actually care about each other and care about the people first and making sure that everyone's taking care of each other in different ways, it's really beautiful synergy, and it just works together where it's more like a community, and that's what we all need to be to go together collectively. I fundamentally believe that we need to beginning to work together and seeing the best in each other and helping each other in the gaps that we see, because we're human, and as entrepreneurs we wear all the hats, all the millions and millions of hats that are required of us and also expected of us, and those are two different things. And then there's the hat that we actually want to wear, which is why we're entrepreneurs, is bringing our gift to the world, whatever that is, or supporting our family with the income that we bring in, like whatever the hat that we want to wear. And so there's all of these pressures and these expectations and these holes that we can't always fill, especially if you're doing it by yourself. There's almost no way you can fill all those holes. All you can do is put your best step forward and take those steps in managing your finances that align with you and support you. And the one of the things that I really want to encourage is making sure that, yes, you are the human and as the human, you're the one running your business, but your finances do need to be very separate. When you start mingling them, that's when you can start getting into a lot of sticky situations that we want to avoid. We want you to keep these very separate. Not only this helps you in terms of tax compliance, this really helps you understand where your money's going and understanding what you actually need. When they're all mixed together, that can be challenging to know what bills you have coming up, what is being paid, what is being paid that's personal, what's business, what money is coming in, what's money's going out. You want these to be very separate. It's okay if you transfer like bulk money back and forth, like, oh, I need extra money in my business, and you as the individual transfer, let's say, $1,000 over to your business to keep it afloat. That's okay. That is absolutely acceptable. We just want to keep the transactions, the individual transactions separate. It's okay if you transfer, like if you take money out of your business as the entrepreneur, that can either be a draw or payroll, whatever that looks like for you and your specific entity type. That's you tackle that and you take that on and you make sure that you are taking those steps. Um, so keeping those separate is very important. Tracking all of the things, unfortunately, that is just the piece. You have to know, are you handling cash? Are you tracking that cash? Are you tracking your payments that are going out? Are you making sure that the payments that you're writing your checks for are the balance in your bank account is covered? Or are you writing checks and hoping that they aren't going to be bounced? And we want to avoid that as much as possible. You don't want to bounce checks. That's just one of those things that isn't fun for anyone. It's not fun for you to have to get to that call to be like, "Hey, my check bounced." And it's not fun for the person that received that check to see that check bounce. And the bank doesn't like to see that either. So the more we get away from that, the better off we're going to be. And that involves cash flow management and making sure that you know what's coming in and what's going out. And what is your responsibility? What is, as the entrepreneur, do you know how all of this works? Do you know, like, are you wanting, well, here we go. One of the things that my brain went in 12 different directions, as it usually does. Something I see frequently and I talk to a lot of entrepreneurs about is the role of a bookkeeper. Generally speaking, unless they're in your location often to manage the money, being like, okay, I know I'm writing this check, I'm paying this bill, I'm paying this the employees. Like if they're there managing and tracking everything, then things will be a little more you will have that step up of that level of accounting. So you'll know what, well, in theory, that's when you'll be able to get the information. You'll be like, okay, that's when you can start understanding your accounts receivable and your accounts payable and knowing what liabilities are coming up and making sure all of these ebbs and flows are being tracked and accounted for and thought ahead to be like, okay, I have this bill coming up. How have I saved for this? How have I managed this? How can I get forward? And that takes a lot of work. And I'm not diminishing that. Accounting and tracking your finances is one of those things that does take time. And it is either going to take your time as the entrepreneur or paying somebody, whether it's an in-house bookkeeper or a third-party bookkeeper. And depending on what you need and what you're wanting is going to depend on which bucket you provide. If you have a third-party bookkeeper that's just taking what transactions already happened and that's after the fact, you're not going to get as much leverage on your data as what that after the fact information being put in is going to provide you. You're just not. And then you're also waiting on for them to be able to enter that information to get that data. And that can cause what I've noticed the most friction in understanding finances is so many people are like, but I have a bookkeeper, all of this is taken care of. And no, like not always. And it really depends on how you set that up and what you're looking for. And the end goal, in my perspective, is always just to get those reports. When you have your reports and you're able to read it, then you're able to be like, okay, what are my key metrics that I want to know so that I can begin to start leveling up and making sure that I'm being taken care of as I'm growing and doing all of these additional things. Like, what are these steps that I need to take? What is the information I need to be pulling? What tax liabilities do I need to be considering? What tax strategy do I need to be considering? And I am not a licensed tax professional. That is not my area of expertise, but it is one of those things where you get to start looking at that and do that next level, get to that next level of tax strategy to be empowered with your finances on all of the levels. And it really does come down to coming to the table. And as entrepreneurs, there's all these hats, there's all these fires, and all these things we need to do all at once. And finances, honestly, are the first thing to be put aside and the last thing to be outsourced. And this is what I see all the time. And it's we want to make this a fun thing because yes, there are going to be times where you have to handle something and your finances do get put aside. I do that. I'm going to be honest, like that just happens. That's how entrepreneurship works is yes, you have a client that needs something from you right away or a vendor that you need to handle and tackle or you need to go figure out a way to get financing to make payroll, which is what I see over and over and over again. That's just the reality of what we're living in currently from what I see. It's just one of those things that sometimes other things do take precedent. It's a matter of how long you let that gap go and how quickly you get back to it. Because again, it's going to happen. You're going to push it aside at one point or another. That's just human. I'm not here to claim that you need to be on top of it. The first of every month, everything gets handled and da 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 da. I'm not that human because I see you as a human and we need more of that instead of the strict black and white judgment that we're placing on entrepreneurs when they don't do everything 100% of the time, when that's just not life, y'all. Like fires happen, and yes, you need there there are steps that are essential for you to take to make sure you're protecting yourself in all of the ways while you're managing that fire. And there are times where things just get put aside. I do encourage that you do your best not to allow it to get past a month. If you are smaller, like under, let's say, $20,000 and you're just starting, it can probably be more like a quarter. But still, the more you're in there and the faster you're getting those things handled, you'll start to be like, okay, now I understand what I need to do. Now I can do it. And you get faster and you get better, and then you get to improve your system so that it's not a daunting task. And it does just take that, it does take a lot of initial effort. Not even going to sugarcoat that. It takes effort and it's usually hard and clunky and challenging to get to that table because there's a lot of shame and guilt and blame that gets placed around finances. And that's why I'm here is to eliminate that, to break free of that, let that go. That is in the past. And what you can do is start where you're at and acknowledge where you are at and take your next best step so that you're getting out of wherever you came from because I was raised by a young single mom. Like I know what it's like to not have and be in scarcity and lack. And I'm by no means in any capacity like financially well off. I'm not, and I'm not even ever going to claim to be that when I am not. And so it's just not dwelling on that. Like you are where you are and you're perfect where you are. It's just a matter about what your next step is. Like don't judge yourself, don't shame, don't there's society and everyone around us places so much expectations without providing the resources or the understanding or the education to set you up. Like there's this huge gap, and I'm not about it. I'm here to empower you by providing you the basic information so that you can set your systems up for you without the blame, the judge, the shame, the quite frankly manipulation. Like it's pretty wild. It, mm. So I think that's what I have for you today. Cash flow management. Like we just talked about it a lot, y'all. Whew. So it sounds so easy. The understanding the money coming in, money going out, cash flow management, like that sounds so simple, but it is a very, very large piece that has so many moving parts and it's going to be unique to you. And that's why I don't like cookie cutter solutions because there's so business is so dynamic and humans are even more dynamic. And there's freedom when you do set your systems up for yourself and not cookie cutter solutions. Some people absolutely need that established system. And I do not want to like, please get that system if that's what you need. If you need profit first, I support that fully. Like, absolutely. Let's set you up. And please, please reconcile. That's the piece where the profit first I've seen is people struggle with is the reconciling. They're not reconciling. Even though they have all these accounts, they're not reconciling the accounts. And that is a PSA side note. Always make sure you reconcile. It's a piece of entrepreneurship that is something that I don't understand that is a big struggle. Maybe I'll do a whole episode on that as well. The importance and the understanding of reconciling. Actually, I'm going to write that down. That is a really good idea. Um, reconciling. Hold, please. Thank you. It's just, it is very, it helps catch any accidental human mistakes. And it's so important. And so whatever system you have, make sure it's balancing and reconciling. And that does take setting up your systems to make sure you're able to check it. And also why I value looking at your reports so that you can even double check in that sense. So that's what I have for you today. That was real big, but I'm really excited. Cash flow management is, again, a huge piece, but it's the more fun one, if we're honest. Like of all the pieces of there's cash flow management, debt management, tax compliance, budgeting and forecasting. Cash flow management's the fun one, y'all. You get to set up your systems. You get to know what's coming in, know what's going out. You get to make it all fancy. You get to customize it to you. I think my nerd is showing. So it is the fun one in my perspective, and the one that's the easiest to get started with. So with that being said, I'm so excited. I am going to be uh bumbling this. I am providing a course. I am doing a course on cash flow management that will be available, I believe, the end of next week. I'm so excited. It's going to be great. It's going to go through all of these pieces to help set you up for success and understand what your roles and responsibilities are so that you can start asking these questions to your professionals so that you can be set up and in a way that supports you while still doing it in a way that's compliant. And that is the goal. We're not all perfect, but we always, I don't know anyone who's like actively like, let's bump the law. No, we're all here to do the best we can with our best foot forward. And that takes a level of knowledge and education and putting your best foot forward to be able to understand what your roles and responsibilities are with your finances. It's vast, it's crazy, but you're so smart. You are here because you are capable and you're able to put that next step forward. And it just takes a few extra steps to manage all of this. And I'm so excited because once you do, you're able to keep more profit in your pocket. And that is the name of the game because that's when you get the money. And we want you to have more money because you're putting all this work and effort in providing this to the world, your gifts to the world. So I'm really excited. It should be live, I believe, next week. And yes. Uh, and I'm secretly kind of really excited. Should I share this? I think I'm gonna share this. Should I? Yes. Um, I have a wonderful, beautiful heart center being who has a master's in education and she was a teacher at a fancy private school and now she's in the entrepreneurial world giving her gifts to the world and since she's in entrepreneurship, she's just getting started with all this and she's agreed to go through the course and give me feedback before it goes live so that I can make sure that it really is taught in a way that is setting you up for success and just helping you the best way I know how because there's so many flashy things out there that are just there to grab your money and they're very it's a dog eat dog world out there and I don't want to be a part of it basically. Like I want to make sure that what I provide you is something that is valuable and will actually help you. And so I am taking additional steps to make sure that's what it is. I've obviously worked with hundreds of clients and it's finances are so dynamic. There are so many pieces, and it is challenging to be able to get everyone's piece all together and put it in a way that supports everyone. And so I think I did do that, and I'm very excited. And we will find out what the feedback is. I think it's going to be great. Yes, and stay tuned. We will be doing that shortly. So stay tuned for that. And I hope you have a wonderful day. Thanks, guys.